to order. If we could get a motion to approve our agenda today,
I'll
please.
make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
A motion by Armstrong, second by Holmes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, if we could please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. All right, public comment time. Mr. Birch, if you could come to our microphone, please. Thank you.
I called a couple of neighbors yesterday.
Let me see, just a minute, Mr. Birch. I don't think our microphone's on. So the people, we have people online. No, it is. So I just have to eat it. Yeah, please.
Yes, I had called a couple of neighbors yesterday about J55 east of Braddyville, on east of the rock pit. We've got all these semis running and they're moving right along. And I wondered about, we talked about a speed limit, as we did out of Braddyville, 35, maybe even 35 or 45 to the Page County line. But that's how I know how long that's going to be torn up. I did hit a pretty good rock yesterday from one of those trucks. And I followed one when I left this morning to come up. And I've seen him before, he's one of the more reasonable, and he's running around 40 to 45. But the ones we've had, I know the one, he was loaded them considerably faster. The main thing that I was concerned about right east of my road, D, was as curves. You get something going through there 50 mile an hour better, and meeting a big piece of machinery,
Yeah.
It's pretty tight.
Sure.
And that was the main reason, but I talked to Chad and Scott about it, to get a hold of Rodney Stevens, but it's just something I think might be worth considering.
So you referenced Chad and Rodney. Are they at the quarry?
Chad Davis and Rodney Stevens on out east.
People live out there.
Oh, okay, they live out there. Okay, I did.
I just wanted to talk to people that were on the road
Sure.
all the time, Scott's on all the time, speed business. But I kind of wish you'd consider.
Does the signage still say 55 there?
There's no
There's
sign.
no
There's
sign.
no signage.
No signage. But when I was farming over there south of Norwich, I know that road, I can't remember, it's the second road south of 2, but there was 45 on it.
Right.
That's for Phil Gibson. Page 7 road. And I thought, 45 would help, maybe.
Sure.
But 35 is a bit much, maybe, because trying to get it, those hills and stuff, I know what it's like driving a truck. And I just appreciate.
Sure.
And there's an unbelievable amount of trucks on that road.
Oh, it's just, man, and there, how many 100,000 tons, 200 and some thousand tons heading for Taylor County? Man, it's Friday, the dust was so bad, I could see it from the house I had off south. But some of the trucks were coming empty north, because I know they couldn't see on the ground, there wasn't much breeze. And I had come from the north from Brenda, I came down through the country with a tractor, and they were coming from the north into the rock pit instead of 45. But I just thought, it's something I wish you'd
Sure.
because if it's going to be torn up for several years,
Right.
there's going to be a lot of traffic out here. Another thing, and we have all these absentee landlords that never mow roadsides, couldn't care less, it seems, it gets up. And I know it has to be a inconvenience even for the maintainers, with all these weeds and stuff falling into the road, and they can't, if they get over there to try to straighten it up, here comes a lot of weeds out. Is there any mowing ordinance at all? I didn't think to look on the website.
We'll defer that question to JD. I think that would probably fall into our weed or noxious weed ordinance, and I believe there is an ordinance for that. Now, to that point, we've had the discussion about weed commissioner. Rick Daly was our last full-time weed commissioner. We've been using some current employees splitting their time, And I know one of the things that Rick was really good about that probably we haven't done as good a job on is notifying these landowners that, you need to take care of it or we'll send you a bill. It's kind of how Rick would, he was pretty persistent, and I'm guessing we've kind of dropped the ball in doing that. We can defer to JD on how we handle that, but, yeah, that's a hazard, and, I appreciate you bringing that to my
Because
attention.
it's basically the deer will step right up, you can't even see them.
No, true.
But to me, because I mow some, but that's next to my land, they all never mow it. So I know what, I get kind of tired of it, but I just wondered what the.
Yeah, and I don't have that ordinance in front of me. I think there's a noxious weed ordinance, that I think would cover this.
But I know in one place that I did some work on, custom work on, that hadn't been mowed, I mean, it's brush now. See the main, because I thought it was a private road, then I realized, no, the maintainer's coming up through here, but it's just a path, some trees growing up next to the road and stuff.
Well,
It's a-
it's only good when it's in bloom with plums, right?
But, that was just all I was concerned about.
Well, appreciate it. And
Appreciate your time.
going back to your speed limit, when we get JD up here, I'd like to, because I'm not sure, when you serve on this board, sometimes you don't get that question. And I think early in my tenure, we had a speed limit question. I'm not sure what the process is. I think we need to get JD involved and get Lyle involved on getting that taken care of. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. Any other public comment? Oh, yeah, no public comment from you? There you go. Well, JD, I think we're ready for you, sir. Jacob.
Yes, sir. Ma'am. Didn't hear you there. Oh, you didn't have the mic.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm JD, County Engineer. I sent you the engineer's update yesterday afternoon with a photograph of a bridge on J20 with concrete rails on both sides. Nice little article in the KMA as well. We are blading. Yesterday, we were down a couple blades without operators, just out for a few days. There is a blade down, and well, there's a blade in the shop. I'll get to that in a bit. We are hauling rock with the 4 trucks yesterday, 5 trucks today, 2 belly dumps and a couple of tandems. Pipe crews over digging crossroad pipe on the Northborough Oil toward the north end. Near 270th Street, or J52, that should be the last crossroad pipe on that segment. And I believe the next scheduled pipe work is up in the very northeast part of the county. Yesterday, my spray patching crew was washing the new steel deck on Bridge T13, which is on G Avenue, north of Norwich. We're gonna spray tack on that today. And with the good weather, it sounds like we have, They're gonna place hot mix on the surface so that, we smooth, I mean, right now it's a corrugated metal deck, not suitable to drive on, so we'll put a surface on that bridge tomorrow, should be open to traffic. I'm certain the neighbors that farm up there will be pleased with that. And, we did repair work on the substructure there and get that restored to more load capacity. I've got a motor grader down with some front end sloppiness in the bushings and pins up there. That's the front end loose comment. And then there's a motor grader in the shop working on the air conditioner lines. We have a truck in Omaha with plow lights. I know we're not plowing snow right now, but we do want to have our lights in order. And I think they've got a solution for that. I figured out it's been a chore. We've been mowing brush and small trees with our forestry head on the skid steer, and that's in the shop, doing some teeth replacement on the mower head. We took delivery last Friday of road oil, emulsion, CRS2, and we also advised the neighbors, Fremont, Taylor, Nebraska City, and the DOT. They all have spray patchers, while the DOT does on a rotational basis, but they come and get oil from us, and that's a plus for them and for us both. They have access to oil that's not far away, and we sell them oil and therefore turn it over faster. It does have a shelf life, and so we can go through more oil, keep it fresher here in the tank. The bridge crew on the F-20 bridge is stripping forms on the deck or underneath the bridge, pulling forms out. Tomorrow they should place concrete in the wings where the guardrail fastens to. Last week they did the open rail. Also tomorrow, the first subcontractor, Bain Bridge, is the one working on the approaches, is scheduled to be in. And then we'll be waiting on the paving contractor. So after you have the bridge, and then 70 feet with the bridge approach, some of that's reinforced, some of it's not. And then the difference from the 70 foot to the, where the pavement was removed, that's paving as opposed to bridge approach, and there's a separate contractor for that. Once the pavement's in, then we just have remaining to build the guardrail blisters, because there's a bit of flare on the guardrail, and erect the guardrail and paint. The auditor called for the FY21 budget amendment to be turned in today. We turned that in yesterday. County staff or engineering staff's working on the 280th Street Bridge and the C Avenue culvert down by 290th. Been doing some surveying down there. I got another guy in the office right now working on plan development. He's been working on the hot mix asphalt resurfacing the Stanton Road, which is coming up next year, and seal coat work, which is also programmed for next year, including that piece north of Essex. I do have a meeting next week in Ankeny with the Iowa Concrete Paving Association. They also deal with cement, concrete, so they deal with cement, and they have interest in our cement stabilized base project that's coming up in July. I anticipate perhaps some folks from other counties coming in and observing what we're doing here with our seal coat, so a chance to show what Bates County's doing out there for the road system. Questions for me, and then I'll get to Mr. Birch's comments about J55.
Laying out that 280th Street culvert or bridge deal now, is that the one just,
The one that
Between Kenny and
280th
Griffith.
Street is east.
oh, okay, not the one by me that they're talking about closing the road, that's not the same?
No, different bridge.
Okay.
That's Ambony 20. That's on 280th Street, but that's a different project.
Okay, that's what I was wondering
And when I talk about 280th Street Bridge, I'm talking the one in Buchanan Township over Buchanan Creek, just west of Hardman Place, east of Vine.
okay, that's what I wondered what that was.
In layman's terms, kind of a dumb question today, guardrail blisters. What's a guardrail blister?
So you have the roadway, which is fairly even, and then at the guardrail, which stick out,
They flare.
they flare, so there's a,
Oh,
Different type of blister.
yeah. But it looks like
it
it's,
the road swells out for a bit.
yeah, okay.
So, that's a term we would use. It's a widening of the roadway.
Okay. Another one of those engineering government terms.
Blister, I don't know. We've used it for that.
So, and then, with this concrete bunch that's kind of training on, or gathering information on the success we've had, is concrete just out of sight right now, price-wise?
We have challenge in Page County because of our lack of good rock. So to get concrete stone that's durable the way we would want it, we have to haul it in. So concrete down here is quite expensive. For prices, I'd go check with Montgomery County. They've done concrete more recently than we have. I don't think we've done concrete since 2006.
Okay.
Concrete pavement.
Right. All right, for no other questions, if we can address Mr. Birch's concerns.
Yes. Ed, I'd like to suggest that with all the semis hauling right now, part of that is the farm to market rock haul and the local road rock haul that Schulberg is doing for Taylor County, like they'll be doing for us in a couple of weeks. So some of the traffic, or maybe most of the traffic, particularly the rock traffic, is, localized isn't quite a term. It's a rather short duration. In other words, it's not gonna be, June, July, August. There'll be grain traffic. So, I'm not certain, there's the speed limit on county roads where there's no signs is 55 during the day and 50 at night. If you don't have anything up, that's the speed limit by statute. Now we have on 230th Street, Page Center Road, and 190th Street, there are speed limit signs left over from the 90s when Iowa 2 was being reworked, and they pushed traffic on both of those parallel roads, and they put up speed signs. Now, early in my tenure here, I said, well, why do we have these? And that was why. Now, do I think we should pull those? I do, but the sheriff doesn't. And he made a case to the Board of Supervisors at that time to leave those speed limits in place. I think when the average traveling public goes down the gravel road, they should be traveling about 45, 40, 45, 50, depends on the condition of the road.
So,
So I guess I'm not, by the time we do a speed study and sometimes those turn out the way we think they should, or sometimes they don't, because they check all the speeds and then use the 85th percentile. You know, what are the speeds of the 85%? There's some engineering stuff in there. But it's not always, it's what the public's comfortable with driving. That has an effect on the way they assign speed limits. It's not totally arbitrary.
That road has an unbelievable amount of traffic on it, truck traffic, compared to most roads.
Mhm. But that's where I think that's where we want it on J55 as opposed to Vine or 290th or something, you know, straying. And I've had complaints on gravels just in Buchanan Township because of the Taylor County rock contract that's underway at this time.
well, you want the traffic, I understand it, but since it's ground up, 55, I mean, to Mr. Birch's point, if you've got that much traffic, I know it's temporary, another few weeks, but to me, that could be safer at a lower speed limit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that requires some law enforcement to go out there and check it. I mean, you post a sign, they're still gonna drive whatever they want to drive. So you start getting a few tickets, but, I mean, how much longer will they be running all this to Taylor County?
Well, he told me it's gonna take him 3 weeks to haul that. And so they were at it last Wednesday. They started last Wednesday. So I got a couple more weeks.
And will that do it for this year? I mean, they're not.
Well, that's the contract amounts over there. That's not what Taylor County would haul. You know, and they always, you know, they don't always haul out of Bradleyville. They haul out of Corning and Graham from the south.
So if this board wanted to enforce a lower speed limit, walk us through that process.
Well, we're supposed to do an engineering speed study. And
Can that be bypassed? I mean, can we use some common sense? We know that 55 is creating angst in the community.
And danger.
And we know that 55 is what we're talking about. We want something lower at 55. I mean, can't we set it without this study?
No, you can, but you could, certainly, but that's what the code or the instructions would call for. And so somebody protesting that, I don't know, I've not done.
Okay. I mean, it just seems reasonable that 55 with all those heavy loads and that much traffic.
And that much dust, being it's ground up now. And rocks. Fine.
What would it, do we even have any signage on hand?
I think so.
You think so? So would it just simply take a vote of this body to say we wanted 45 or whatever the speed limit desired is?
I'd have to check, but I guess so.
Okay. Well, I think JD, I mean, in response to our community, we're hearing from Mr. Birch today, Jacob has, you know, witnessed this firsthand. I haven't seen it firsthand since the trucks have been running. We've had other dust control issues out in that general vicinity, coming out of the quarry. And we know that grinding the road improved the surface compared to what it had been, but.
But then they also travel faster because it's not a truck.
That's right.
That's true.
Well, if we put it on to discuss it next week, is next week in the evening, or
Yeah.
anybody had a concern about it being, if they thought that was not good, they could come in and talk about
Yeah, I
it.
think that's.
Both sides could talk about it.
Discuss, approve.
Yeah, for next week. And then, I mean, double check the code. I can't imagine that we have to go through some laborious study. We know that 55 is too fast. Let's pick a number and, go for it. Unless we're breaking the law, which I don't understand the code on
Well, I don't think
this
we're breaking the
engineering
law.
study. Huh?
I wouldn't think that's
Okay.
breaking the law.
So I think that, we could probably, for my money, bypass the study and come to some agreement.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put that, Mr. Birch, we'll put that on, and we meet Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock, so you might, here and gather your neighbors, and then, we'll try to get the messaging out for people who may object to that. We'll have a discussion and see what we can do. If you've got some signage, and then, would like to get, the sheriff involved, because ultimately, we can post whatever we want to post, they're gonna drive it till there's some enforcement. And they can't give us full-time enforcement, I'm quite certain of that, but some spot, checks would go a long way in reducing the speed. So, and again, we know that in the future, we're gonna return that to hard or
Right.
we're gonna improve that road, and at that time, then we've got an opportunity to go back to normal.
Pull the signs down for us.
Yeah.
So, all right, thank you. And then in terms of the weeds, what,
Right, which weeds you talking about? Are you talking the ones on the roadside or the ones?
Just on the roadside, right off the edge of the, like a mower's width off. Because these space can normally did out there, and it doesn't work. And that was drove, it was terrible. And, it's an accident person, and they just won't mow or touch it. And by the time they do it, it's so big. That the engineers, to get it, it's just, you've seen those lots they put up on, they can't help it. There's nothing they can do about it.
So that's not a weed commissioner thing, that's a, we mow that.
oh,
We mow roadsides.
The right of way.
Now, he's complaining about a societal issue here where absentee landowners don't mow because they're not there. Everybody doesn't mow in front of their fences like they used to. That's a function of the farming society these days and the composition of the landowners.
but don't we have the ability to go do that and charge them?
No, these aren't noxious weeds necessarily. These are just weeds this is just grass growing up on the roadway
Or
and the
brush,
roadside.
or brush,
Yeah,
trees.
and then we spray for that, we mow, we cut trees in the wintertime. We just aren't everywhere.
Or can your brush cutting crew kind of survey that, put that higher on the list?
Yeah, we can put it on the list, or we can, where were you said we were mowing them?
Like, especially east of the rock, that culture, they never touched that, I always know that. And then going north, they never mow it till it gets so big, and it goes everywhere, like I say, and even on east, when I travel down through there are a lot of these absentee people who never touch it. And, it was just, you just take a 7-foot or 8-9-foot bar, and, they can move between one up, and I've done several of them across there. I'm getting old enough, I won't be doing this too much longer. Who else is gonna do it? But, and there aren't that many of them, really, but where it's bad, and the deer situation is a deal too, because they'll step right out, you can't see them at all. And, when that grass is even 2 or 3 foot tall, that was, And like I said, when the maintainer comes along, here's this wall of grass, if he tries to trample it up, then he's breaking out. I know it's gotta be an aggravation for them. It's especially bad down in our area, because we have all these letters that don't care.
I don't know what the status of it is in the Iowa legislature, but this year there was a bill out of one of the chambers dealing with more regulation, giving counties more opportunity like cities on dilapidated properties. And I don't know if, I've not read that proposed bill, and I don't know where it stands, whether it's gonna come out and be signed into law, but I'm wondering if this type of situation would be included there. I guess I need to do a little more research, see what we can do with landowners, who, I understand they're absentee, but they have a responsibility to take care of it. And the deer scare the heck out of me at night, and you're on that road frequently. If I had to drive it every day, I'd be nervous about it too. So, let's do a little more research. JD, I may call on you, but I'll do some digging.
What, on the weeds in the roadside?
Yeah, weeds on the roadside, as it relates to property owners' responsibility to maintain that when it becomes a public, because this is a public nuisance.
If it's in the right of way, is it the county's
Yeah.
issue?
Yeah.
Because this is probably in the right of way, a lot of this,
Yeah.
not
That's
even
what
on
I
the
hear
right
from
of way.
him.
Yeah, if
You
it's
know, I could
so many
use,
feet
you
from the
know,
road, it's on the
Give
county.
me a couple more tractors and men.
How about getting up a little early?
Yeah.
So, what is our right of way? How many feet on that road is
I
considered?
don't know about that road in particular, because it might be different, but most gravel roads, it's 66-foot right of way, 33 foot from the center.
Okay.
Or-
Well, if you would, be kind enough today or tomorrow to go survey that, see what we need to do, that'd be great.
Anything else for me?
No, sir, not that I know.
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. With, your all's permission, we have the, Mark Shaffer contract on at 8:45, the adopted rate at 9, it is 9:03, can we
Sure.
swap that in the
Let's
interest of
make
time?
the switch.
Oh, that's fine.
Yep.
Okay, so if, Chase and Mike would like to come forward. And Jacob has a presentation for you guys.
Well, I don't have a presentation, but we got a good deal here, we got some money. Well, I think this is a wonderful thing, and, being on the township clerk in Amity Township, seeing some of the stuff that's done like this is a wonderful, wonderful thing. The county has raised, the employees and some other, local people, have raised a total of $1,540 to present to you guys to help you with your restoration of stones. And I'll read off the names that aren't employees here that were donors. We had Darwin Holmes, which was the clerk for Pierce Township, made a donation. John and Elaine Christensen, which work, with the Blanchard Cemetery, I think they said, they made a donation. James and Linda Woolsey made a donation. And, I can't remember if these were employees or not, remind me if that's.
Yeah.
Okay, and those are the and everything else is from, Page County employees and elected officials. And I think it's wonderful,
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much to all the county employees and all who donated. It's amazing.
and a big thing I got out of this is how much you can stretch the dollar.
Mhm.
How much you get done with a few dollars. This will do a lot. The price that I remember from the meeting was it $10 a stone?
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
And
This is a wonderful contribution.
thanks for all your time and trouble to make it go stretch the money to go do so much.
Of course, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you
Yes.
for all you do.
Thank you, guys.
And hey, Chase, if you go front and center real quick, I want to say congratulations. I think that, we have a lot of things to be proud of in Page County with our youth. I think the group that is working on graves, is unbelievable. And special congratulations to Chase McAndrews, who has been accepted as a student this coming year at Columbia University.
Wow.
One of about 2% of the applicants who,
Yeah, super.
who made application and got accepted. Congratulations, and remember us when you get big and famous.
Yes, I heard it first.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, and special thank you to everybody who contributed.
Yeah.
It's awesome. You know, something that Trish and I talked about, this gives some thought to how we could do this, but the young people of our county are so amazing.
Mhm.
And Friday, I had the opportunity to speak to the government classes at Shenandoah High School, 4 different periods.
Mhm.
Very bright young people, some state officers, FFA, and
Mhm.
many very engaged. And Trish had made a comment when we talked here a month or so ago that maybe there's a way we could incorporate some kind of a junior supervisor program, a
Mhm.
mentorship program to engage our young people who are interested in their communities.
Yeah.
So give that some thought and see if some of the creative minds can come up with an idea. Because it's just such a refreshing thing to have young, engaged people in our room. It just adds so much vitality and energy.
Not bad.
They're online taking exams right now. They're exactly that. So we appreciate it very much for the support.
Okay, on the agenda, 8:45, discuss approved contract with Mark Shaffer and Molyneaux Insurance. We've kind of kicked this can down the road. We need to figure it out. Mark Shaffer, of course, for those of you listening online, Mark Shaffer, our safety consultant, contract expired this winter, late winter. A 3-year deal. He really helped save our bacon in terms of turning the corner. And to JD and his crew, where secondary roads was our really primary offender, we've had a marvelous experience over the last 18 months because of the leadership of Tom, our safety director, and certainly of Mark Shaffer. But Shaffer has proposed, he would like to become, stay engaged with Page County over the next year to kind of help be a resource for Tom, and inclusive of being a resource regarding OSHA. In his duties, Mark Shaffer deals pretty intensely with OSHA, and with the advent of COVID-19, OSHA has created some interesting violations for municipalities and counties that have resulted in some pretty hefty fines. I know going back through our OSHA experience, at the suggestions of Mark, we did some things differently in our law enforcement that protected us from some violations with regard to OSHA and PPP. So,
This agreement I printed off the one from the other day. It's been a couple times. It's the loss control, to repair loss control report, $1,200 a year for 2 years, a quarter for 2 years. Is that what we're talking about approving?
well, I thought it was a 1-year deal, but let me.
I think it is too, Chuck.
It's a 2-year deal.
It's a 2-year
Yeah,
deal.
yeah.
Okay.
I just printed it to go over again.
Oh,
The
okay.
2-year, March 1st, 2021 to February 2023.
Oh, it is a 2-year deal.
And it's quarterly. I'm just trying to understand this. Fees would be around 1,000 to 1,200 per quarter, plus hotel costs. Loss control services would be related to preparation time, risk assessment. So does that mean between 1,000 and 1,200?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how, if it's a little more, it's gonna be 1,200, a little less, it's 1,000.
Right, it depends
Not
on if he has
more
to.
than that?
Right, if he has to travel and stay, otherwise, if he does everything by phone, it'd be the less amount.
It'd be the 1,000.
Yeah.
By the phone.
Okay, 4 hours for travel.
Okay.
And hotel expense.
I was trying to go over all this. I was trying to do some research on this, and then his tagline to his emails, it says, "We are not attorneys. Our suggestions are not provided as general information. Examples and opinions and are not intended to be or used as a substitute for specific legal advice or opinions, kind of, you know, goes on to give all the tagline of they're not an attorney and do not take this as a legal advice. He's being paid to give us advice, so I hope they could back it up with, we believe this is sound and we'll stand on it, and that seems like an out a little bit. I don't know. Safety's good. We need a lot of safety. We're spending a lot of money on safety right now between Tom's budget and then this additional, basically $4,000 to $5,000 a year.
And just in summary, let's go back before Mark Shaffer. IMWCA, our work comp carrier, told us that if we didn't do something dramatic, we were not going to be part of the pool. And if we had to go out in the private market and not have the benefits of that association, our guesstimate was that it would cost us annually an additional $200,000 of premiums. Now, we didn't know because we didn't go price it, but that was in talking with IMWCA, talking with Pete across the street. So it was imperative, and now, you know, we were kind of the poster children for how not to do it, IMWCA. And now, as I understand it, we're kind of the poster children for how to turn things around. And historically, over the last 20 years, we've had a pattern of high amount of claims, and then we would straighten out. We're in one of those periods where we're flat, where we've never been able to achieve it before over the last 20 years, is to keep it relatively flat. It seems like we go 2 or 3 years, and then we would peak again for 2 or 3 years. And so that was one of our major goals of trying to flatten it out, knowing that accidents are going to happen.
They're going to happen, but well, right now we're spending around, if we do this, around $90,000 a year basically on safety.
Yeah.
84 or something in Tom's budget, just mostly his salary, and then another 4,000 or 5,000 here. And then, you know, cost reward, do we get more reward than it costs us? You know, that's the thing to look at, but I just wonder, so we do this for 2 years, then, is there not, and this is a question, we had a discussion a few months ago about this, NACO and all these other situations, is there anyone else that we can call that we already pay a membership fee to ask these OSHA questions, or is there somebody else? I never really figured that out.
I don't know if NACO.
Or something like that.
I don't know if NACO does. I know that there are associations, the Iowa, Illinois Safety Council has a membership piece, and I don't know, and I've asked Tom to check that out. There's a Nebraska one based out of Omaha, but the one that you hear more about is the Iowa, Illinois one. And I believe that they are an option for us to have that resource. I think it's important for our leadership to have resources. You can take a look at JD, he has people he can call. Our elected officials have a retained attorney that they can call. So I'm not opposed to having Tom have somebody to lean on, but to your point, I think there are other options with the association. Now, Mark Shaffer, I'll be honest, I'm not married to Mark Shaffer, but I think he's done us a good job, and I think his proposal is very reasonable for what we get. We know who we're dealing with, and yes, it's got the legal disclaimer.
Like the last line here, it says, first seek legal advice from any attorney regarding this application of the law, and it's this information that they give you. So if we have to honestly do it right with OSHA, and then we have to go to an attorney, if we want to really back ourselves up, he's saying maybe you can't take this to the bank. Maybe they all say that, I don't know, but that just seems to be, I know he's got information, he's helped us, I just think if it's $1,000 to $1,200 a quarter to basically be available for questions and advice, because he's seeing this across a huge area, he's seeing things happening.
Yeah. Well, and he's also got a very strong connection within the insurance industry. He's got contacts that we don't know.
Is that where he came from? Was he referred to us by
Yes.
the insurance company?
Yes.
Back then?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, he connected. We received information from him, and do we have somebody else too, 2 or 3 others that we talked to?
Yes, we had somebody up in Spencer.
Yeah. But he was the one that was best recommended for us by the insurance.
By Ed Morrison,
Yeah.
who was the.
There's nobody local-ish that does this.
No, the ones he gave us,
Southwest.
one was in Des Moines, he's in the Clinton area, Mark is, and
And
the
then
guy,
there's from.
the first recommendation was the guy up in, it might have been Emmitsburg.
Yeah, it
Somewhere
was
up
up way
northwest,
north.
and he said he'd love to do it, but he was just spread too thin, he had too many contracts.
Yeah.
So,
Now, Tom, does his firm, does this Mark Shaffer's firm, do they handle complete county safety or not? Are they only advisory? Do they ever take on, does this firm he's with ever take on all of the county safety issues, like the whole thing, or are they only advisory?
you know, it's I'm not sure I can answer.
Like subcontracted, I wonder. When Tom was in here talking about this a few months ago, yeah, Tom was with 20-some years of Pella doing this. He's very experienced at it. I don't know, I think there's so many resources to get that don't cost anything. I really would like to save the $5,000 myself a year. I'm not saying he's not helpful, but it's fairly expensive phone calls. We could get an attorney to talk to us for a few $100 an hour and ask him OSHA questions.
Right.
I don't know how many OSHA questions we have, how many hours we have in a year, but
Yeah. Problem with OSHA, one fine is tremendously, if I remember that one email, can be tremendously costly, especially for a county.
yeah, but he's telling us to go to a lawyer if we're worried about getting sued. So
Yeah.
I don't know where all that applies with the law, but
Well, I think I understand your concerns, and I have some of the same concerns as well. Mark's done a very good job, and I think he continued to do us a good job, but is it absolutely necessary? And I honestly don't know. I mean, $5,000.
why don't we try a year and see how we get along, and the next year look at it again? Say, well, we really needed Mark, so maybe we bring him back if we can't find the resources. Because we've made it several months, is he still answering our questions right now, or are we kind of off?
Yeah,
No, he's still,
he's still been engaged with Tom, and kind of tipped us off on some OSHA things that he's seen. Well, entertain a motion either way, and,
I have a question maybe for JD, is that okay to ask him a question right now?
Sure.
What do you think about this? Do you think it's necessary? Is that something you want to get into? I mean, have you dealt with him yourself? or
Yes.
Giving you, answering questions?
We brought in Mr. Shaffer back in early 2018, after we had some
Right.
problems.
Tom came after Mark, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're paying him, what, $1,200 quarterly?
Yeah.
$1,500 quarterly, in my mind, that's certainly better than $1,500 that they're paying every month. You know, it's better.
What were they paying, $1,500 a month? Is that what they,
That's what.
what it started out at.
before we had Tom?
Yes. Now, that was during the first 3 years.
So this would be an improvement on that, from a financial standpoint.
But we
And
stopped.
my question would be, can we retain him on a fee for service basis?
Yeah.
Does he work like that? Or
It's
if
as
Tom
needed.
doesn't need him, we're not sending him a check, or does Tom, I wish he were here, you know, perhaps, could we wait another week on this and maybe Tom will be back to, you know, how often does Tom reach out to Mr. Shaffer? Recently, you know, I don't know. You know, it's having him available is certainly a good thing. You know, you're asking about other organizations, I mean, IMWCA would surely be able to talk to us about it.
The other people you could call about OSHA is OSHA. Just call them and say, what do you guys think? Because you're the one that's going to give us the fine.
Well, that's true, although, and OSHA, we had this discussion at the front end of our safety issues. OSHA will provide you a no-cost, free audit. But there's a school of thought that you kick a sleeping dog when you do that. Now, their rules their rules prohibit them from taking that audit information to the enforcement arm of
Because
OSHA.
you're reaching out to them for help, probably.
Yes, although there are people that swear don't do it.
Yeah.
So, well,
I don't know,
I think maybe, what I'm hearing is that we do need to get a little more information.
Yeah.
Fee for service, if that were available, might be more, I mean, I want Tom to have some resources.
Yeah.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, I concur.
But what are the options? Let's pin down what does NACO offer, if anything, that we are now paying a membership for? What does a membership to either the Iowa, Illinois, or the Nebraska Safety Council cost, and what kind of resources do they provide? And then would he do a fee for service or even a 1-year deal? I thought it was a 1-year contract. It's been so long ago since I read it, and I'm not crazy about a 2-year deal.
No.
So let's gather some more information, and I don't know if we can get it done by, because Tom's gone, I think, all week. We might have to.
the following week or something.
Might have to defer, till the 18th. But is that what I'm kind of hearing?
I think, yeah.
Well, I'd like to.
1 year would make me a lot less concerned than a 2-year, so.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
one year makes some sense, 2 years doesn't make any sense. And to your point, Jacob, I think those are very legitimate questions that we need to explore before we commit.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
no action taken there.
Okay.
Okay, to the claims, let me get these disseminated. You gotta quit yawning.
Sorry, I didn't sleep good last night. Worried about Mark Shaffer. Okay.
I've got a question here, I want to look at that, and let's do it. On the redistricting email we got,
Oh, yes.
I'll wrap up that now. Is that gonna be on next week's meeting then, probably the agenda, talking about that, or when we vote to appoint people, or how's that work?
Well, it happens once every 10 years, and I wasn't here,
Yeah.
so,
Well, it says here, which I don't, that 2 will be appointed by the board, and 1 will be appointed by the Democrats. And I don't know how that works, that sounds kinda,
well, I think
what defines that? How does that work?
the redistricting process was outlined in one of the ISAC, the Officer School of Training, and I sat through that. And then the auditors did theirs weeks later. I mean, I think they just did theirs last week. It was my understanding that, that it could be a 3, 5, or 7 member board. I thought it could be 3, 5, or 7. But I need to verify that. What we got from Melissa was a 3-member board. Regardless of what the number, whether 3, 5, or 7. The training I went to said that you take the supervisor, there's a supervisor can be on the board, which I think is a bad idea, personally. But if the majority, the political party that's represented in the majority on the board, whether it's a 3 or 5 member supervisory board, whatever the majority is, the minority party between the Republicans and the Democrats, their county chair gets to select
I see,
a member to that board.
I see.
And that's what the code says, apparently. So, but I'll double check, and I don't know, I think 3 or 5.
And this is just to redistrict the county districts, our district 1, 2, 3, or which district is, what is,
It's all the county. What they do typically,
by population, we have to cut it again?
and the biggest thing, the biggest problem they're gonna have is the census data is so delayed. Because see, this all has to be completed before, registration for the June primary, which occurs in March. And there is some concern that the census, we won't have those pieces of data that they use for redistricting until August. And I think there's a deadline of when the redistricting has to be done. So,
Yeah, sure.
and so the timing is going to be the big deal. But what they do, Jacob, is they take, as I understand it anyway, they take the county population and they have it down in quadrants. Like, District 1 and District 3 are the District One, all currently, based on the population spread, is all the city of Shenandoah, Little Scotia, as I remember, territory to the south and east of the high
Yeah,
school.
yeah,
Clarinda is basically just the city
Yeah.
limits. And I think they take the prison population into account in that, in their data. But their goal is to evenly distribute the population.
Right.
And, you know, and they get some parameters, they have some training, but it shouldn't be, I mean, I don't think a supervisor would want any part of that, but it shouldn't be contentious. You know, the
Yeah.
numbers will be the numbers.
It's just
Yeah.
that they define, they wanted a Democrat, so it's like, well, it does make it somewhat, they want to be equally represented, but somewhat, they want some representation in it.
right,
Even the minority party wants something to say.
yeah.
So that would, in that light, say that the other two would probably be Republicans if they're defining one's a Democrat, so.
But if you had to say, Jacob, in Page County, where do the majority of Democrats live, or where do the majority of Republicans live? Unlike a neighborhood in the inner city where it's maybe a little easier to define where political leanings are, I'm not sure.
Just the point, there's coming from a point of view, I would say, from their two different ideologies, and I don't know if that really is gonna affect where they draw a supervisor line, so,
No,
a district line at all, but they define they want one Democrat, so. And the Democrat chair of the Democrat Party, I'm sure is gonna probably nominate a Democrat.
Yeah, yeah, and we could nominate Democrat, because it's really I mean, it's, you take the numbers and you slice them and dice them to get them as equal as you can.
It's probably a bigger fight in the state trying to, because they'll want to keep their power where they can, whoever's on that committees. That's where you see more of the issues.
It's a big deal how they
Yeah.
district the state
Yeah.
district lines, big deal.
Yes, yeah. Because that all changed how many years ago?
Yeah.
Big fight. So,
So that's just, so will this be something that will happen? Because it said May 15th, the deadline. So will this be next Tuesday night, be people to be nominated for this, or
Or that we could.
we can appoint or
Yeah.
whatever?
Yeah, but I think you want to appoint somebody who has a desire to be there,
Oh, yeah.
and somebody who understands what they're doing. I mean, it's really not political, or it shouldn't be.
It's just somebody with common sense to look at numbers and lay out a line, I guess. That's
Yeah.
basically all this is. But if there's I don't know, I mean, we're gonna have I don't think the Democrat chair is gonna nominate a Republican, to be honest.
No,
So,
honestly, I have a hard time thinking that makes any difference. You're looking at, you got 15,000 people, how do they split 3 ways?
yeah.
And I can't imagine in 10 years there's been that much of a,
No, Shenandoah dropped accordingly a few hundred, but
it'll
it's
probably
not
stay
going to
about the
be,
same.
it's not going to be enough to probably affect any of the split. You know, I don't think, because there's really no more in Shenandoah area to pick up without going into the rural market. And
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
numbers will tell us, but if I had to guess, we've lost pretty much equal amounts of people throughout the 3
Yeah.
districts.
Okay.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the claims?
So moved.
I haven't went over them yet.
Oh, okay.
I might, there's so many claims, is there a way we can get claims a day earlier or something? But the guy asked me, there's so many of them so fast to go over them, it's hard to, when are the claims kind of ready for the next meeting? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Generally.
Kristen, can you?
20,
The next meeting, so where it falls. But
I guess the other option,
Take me a
Jacob, was
minute.
come in a half an hour or 15
Yeah,
minutes
could've went over it
earlier.
earlier this morning.
Yep, and just stop in the office and they would have them ready for us.
I could read over them, I didn't know how to. Sometimes there's not very many, and sometimes there's a bunch.
No, this one wasn't very big.
J.E. left. This is really for him. I'll put it in the box.
Motion oil, okay. let's see here.
Be watching for checks coming in. There still might be a few townships that might send some dollars to the kids.
They might, yeah.
Have to keep an eye on that.
I think, you know, Angie.
Yeah, they'll come with your name attached probably, because
Oh.
your name was on that letter we sent out. So we'll just have to watch and listen.
Well, that was,
That was nice.
wonderful. Yeah,
Turned out really good.
and I was wondering if we could supplement, you know, with our local option sales tax, but, the auditors say that since the adopted rate is part of the 501c3 under.
Right.
It makes
Yeah.
it more difficult,
Yeah.
which frankly, then I think we need to revisit that because aren't our economic developments 501c3s?
I'm not so sure they tie in with the cities. I'm not sure if they are too or not. I think they are.
Part of our charge
Mhm.
is to,
Yeah, I believe they are.
For the media that's with us, just wanted to remind people about the vaccination clinics. First one is May 13th, 4 to 6 at the Page County Annex. The next one is May 27th, Page County Public Health Office in Clarinda. And that one is also from 4 to 6. So anyway, I told Jess I'd remind people. Something we probably ought to consider for an upcoming agenda item. I talked with the clerk's office this morning, the district court clerk, and asked if they'd had any indication from the Supreme Court with regard to their mask requirement.
Mhm.
You can't walk into that
Mhm.
room without a mask. They said they're still waiting, but I see, you know, we're getting to a point in Page County where we're having fewer arms that we can vaccinate.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I see Broadway, May 19th, they're reopening Broadway in New York. So we probably need to see what the Supreme Court does, keep our eyes on that.
On the, quick question on that, just I was thinking about this, is public health still having overtime and that, or are they pretty much back to normal?
They were, I talked to her yesterday, and she said that their overtime was almost normal this time, and it's much, much better. And actually, Tom's assignment with public health is concluded. They've written him out of the script based on this revised plan, which timing's probably pretty good because our outdoor activities.
Yeah,
are
we're pretty busy, yeah.
Okay, I'm good, I got to the bottom.
Okay. Take a motion to approve our claims.
So moved.
Second that.
Okay. Motion made by Holmes, seconded by Armstrong, seconded by Holmes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Either way, we're happy.
Either way. Okay, everybody had a chance to look at last week's minutes?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, Armstrong with the motion, second by Holmes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, time to adjourn. Thank you for joining us.
Motion
And
to adjourn.
we've got the motion. Okay, second. We're here next Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
If you